Welcome to the Bladtcast podcast. I'm your believer, Christian Bladt, and shortly I'll be joined by some skeptics, and we'll be talking about a film called Undertone. And was it underwhelming, underappreciated, overhyped? These are all words that we can use to possibly describe it. But I'm going to take a page out of my buddy Adam Hughesy, the H-Man Hugheses, and I'll point out that right now I'm being that kid in high school who's wearing the concert shirt from the night before because I saw Paul McCartney in a 1,200 seat theater in Hollywood yesterday. And the whole day is really just me trying to make people jealous that they didn't get to go. So I'm having fun with that. But most importantly, we are talking about Undertone. Very excited to welcome back to the show my co-host from the radio show, Is It Worth Watching? It's Lucy from Once Over with Cayley, but Cayley, it's you got a lot of names that we throw out there.
I know. I like being confusing.
Yes.
Great.
And well, you are a woman. I mean, come on.
It's true.
And glad to have you on board for this because you and I have talked quite a bit about this movie, and I haven't really talked to you since you've seen it, but your texts have given me a pretty good idea of how you feel. And Nasty Neal from the Without Your Head podcast. Neal, you were actually messaging me while you were in the theater watching it.
Yeah, it was very weird. You asked me if I saw this movie, and I was literally in the movie watching it.
Yeah. And the fact that, you were in the middle of, going through your ex DMs, well, that might say a little bit about how
well, yeah, I'll explain that, though, actually, when we get into the movie.
Sure. And people are, of course, excited to see Cayley. And I like this. Lucy looks like a Star Trek background character in that shirt. Yes, that is definitely, it's very futuristic.
It's my Hereditary shirt. We're talking about an A24 movie, so I had to be wearing one of my A24 shirts.
And I would like to welcome back to the show my friend Dan Carroll, whom I've known since 1988 because I'm really old. He's older than I am. And excited to have him here because Dan, you were the one who talked up Undertone more than anyone else. So you convinced me to see this movie, and I don't regret seeing it even for a second. I have plenty to say about it. But thank you for being here, all of you. I very much appreciate it. And if there's really anywhere to start, I think that it would be with some high-tech levels of production. Because who knows what's going to happen. By the way, I had mentioned this to Cayley when we watched the trailer. This is going to be a drop that I use for probably every show that I do from here on in.
We should stop listening.
We should stop listening.
We should stop listening.
Yes, we should. And just in case you want an extra creepy one, at various points during the conversation, I'm going to drop in all three of these. I really boosted that one. It was so quiet in the trailer. Anyway, so I think that it's 2026. So I feel like we should be chivalrous and go ladies first. Cayley, what'd you think? Well, no, talk about sort of the build-up, because not everybody has been on our text thread as we've been talking about how we're going to see it. Talk about the build-up to it and then your thoughts of actually seeing it.
So I had a lot of really high expectations for Undertone. I know very little about movies when I go into seeing them. In fact, the first time that I even saw the trailer, didn't hear the trailer, but saw the trailer, was when we were talking about this movie on our radio show, Is It Worth Watching? And I tried really hard to avoid everything. So I hardly knew that this was about a couple of podcasters who have a paranormal-based podcast and their experience with one particular story. I knew that it was going to be very audio-centric and that the sound design of the movie was going to be very important to what made it special. And I got this feeling that it was going to be kind of like a situation like the movie Skinamarink, which was both divisive and terrifying to some and incredibly, incredibly boring to others. That was kind of where I thought this was going to fall in. I don't think that I was so far off on most of those guesses. I'll save additional comments for as we get more into it. But I will say it was impressive and interesting, despite the fact that maybe it wasn't my favorite and I probably won't ever revisit it.
Okay, well that's fair. There are plenty of movies that I've enjoyed, or at least I've been able to appreciate on a level and haven't gone back. Rob K points out that this is live, and then Danielle points live and raw. And a shout out to to Dan, Blair Witch T-shirt. But I noticed it's not a Blair Witch 2 Book of Shadows. So I will mention that film at some point while we're talking. But Neal, in addition to messaging me during the movie, what were your thoughts of the movie, and did you have similar expectations for it as
Yeah, so I knew it played festivals because I was press at Fantasia, but I didn't see it at Fantasia. And so, and again, like Cayley said, very divisive. Some people loved it, some people hated it, some people were like, "Oh, like we're against it," very vehemently. And so I was, but I try not to. Like Cayley, I try not to like read too much about movies before I go into them, or I try not to watch a trailer when possible, which isn't always possible. And so I went to see it, and I was very bored, I have to admit. But then when you messaged me, I did feel like, oh, this is not this is bad of me to watch it this way. So I went and I saw it again last night before doing the review, so I could give it a fair shot. And I paid attention the whole time.
Did a second viewing change your perspective, or did it just?
Yeah,
for me, sometimes the second viewing is like, no, I was right the first time. Don't. It's not the right topic, but don't ask about the second time I saw Star Wars: The Last Jedi. We don't have time. But for you, Neal, it was a different experience seeing it.
100%. It's definitely a movie that you have to be immersed in, that you have to give which really you should for all movies, I guess. But this movie especially, you have to pay attention. You have to give it something. You have to give it your time. You can't be doing something else for it to work.
Yeah, I mean, I think an example that I remember using for the way people passively take in content was way back when the only Office we had was the British Ricky Gervais one. And a friend of mine who has a really similar sense of humor to me said he just couldn't get into it. And then I realized, oh, you're like on your phone and like checking emails while you watch it. It's like half of that show is like quiet reactions to the camera, long before the American version really milked it. But I was just like, yeah, it'd be great to actually, I mean, I do remember being, there'd be times where my mom would be playing computer games while TV was on, and I was in the bathroom, and I come back, I'm like, oh, what I missed? She's like, I don't know. I'm like, all right, so why are we watching TV then? So it goes way back. I think you're right. It becomes very easy to be distracted.
Because I also saw the movie They Will Kill You, and that's a super fun movie. You don't have you could do some other stuff while you're watching it, and you'd probably still enjoy it.
There are definitely movies where you can do that, but I think that especially when you're planning, as Cayley and I were planning on reviewing it, we wanted to give it our attention. I appreciate you seeing it a second time. I don't know that I'll see it a second time. Dan, you were the one who and I knew about this movie, but I hadn't really given it serious thought of like, oh, I'm going to make the time to see it in the theater. So talk a little bit about your experience, how much you knew before you went in, Dan.
Pretty much nothing. Like the rest of you guys, I try not to watch trailers unless I'm stuck in a movie theater and you're forced to watch a trailer. I'll give a movie maybe 10, 15 seconds of the trailer to see if I'm going to like it or not. I love going into a movie blind. I don't want to know too much. I love going in for that ride, just that experience from start to finish. So for me, my friend had told me about it and said that it's, the audio really carries this film. So he said, if you can, try and see it in a Dolby theater that has that, high quality Dolby sound, which I didn't, but my theater has really good sound. Now, for me, I think this was about atmosphere when you see it. I don't think this is a movie you can really see in a theater with people laughing and talking through the whole movie or whatever. And for me, when I went, it was on the first Thursday before the actual release. So I had about 4 rows in front of me that were just nobody. And there was about 2 people maybe behind me. And then I think as the movie was just about to start, maybe 3 more people came in the back. But for me, it was like I had a whole empty theater to myself. So I had this dark, empty theater with nothing but this silence going on with the film. So I was able to focus in more on all the creepiness and the sounds and everything. And it just really built up that anxiety for me that I haven't felt since the first time I saw Blair Witch in the theater.
What time was the showing? Was it late? I think that makes a difference.
No, well, I think it was like a 5 p.m. show,
Oh,
5
that's
or
not too
6
bad.
p.m.
Yeah. Well, Cayley knows that as much as I enjoy scares on the big screen, I am a bit of a wuss. So I went to go see it at noon on a Monday, and there were two people in the theater. And when I bought my tickets, I thought about like what I should really do is throughout the course of the movie alternate between seats behind each of those people and just like kind of whisper and mumble the whole time. But then I thought, you know what, let's all try and actually enjoy the film. So yeah, but the sound goes a long way. I mean, we were playing some of the sound that they used in it, and Latanya, who I assume is in Vegas, says, "Is it a found footage movie?" It's not, but they pretend that it's a found audio movie. So I mean, I think that premise is definitely a part of it. What were you going to say, Cayley?
I found audio is a very good way to describe this film. You know, of course, this is about, you know, a couple of podcasters, one being a skeptic and the other one being a believer, finding this audio files and then listening to them on the podcast, and everything becomes a little bit more intimidating as the film goes along, and it becomes spookier and a little bit more real, and maybe we're not as skeptical anymore. And I think especially for all of us, you know, when you're a podcaster, there's a lot of really interesting audio effects that happen in this movie. If you've ever put on headphones before, you know the sound of taking the headphones off, and then all of a sudden you can hear the room noise, like the clock ticking. And this film does a really wonderful job of showing us things like that. And it's that sort of sound design that I think makes this film have the atmosphere that Dan was just describing.
Yeah, I think that they do a great job for exactly what you said. There's that moment where she puts the headphones on and then it like shuts out everything else. And then she's doing a good job sort of looking around like, I'm hearing something. I guess it's in my headphones, but is it in the house? And
you don't ever really know. You don't ever really know. We don't get the questions. And there's a lot of unanswered questions.
A lot of unanswered questions. Yeah.
You never really know if what she's hearing is in her headphones or in the house. And I've had that sensation when I've had headphones on late at night where I'm like, whoa, was that a sound from the movie that I'm watching? Or was that somebody breaking into my house downstairs? You know, and that's the kind of fear I think that and anxiety that we get from a movie like that.
Let you jump in a second, Neal. Literally, while I was editing those 3 sound clips to be able to play them here, you know, I had the big waveform up. It was like basically in the movie, and I had my headphones on, and all of a sudden, my wife's standing next to me and had a question. So I was So that might have been more scared than I was during the actual movie. What were you going to say, Neal?
Well, I think the slow burn really helps the movie because if it was all like as crazy as it gets, like you'd be really sick of it, I think, by the end. And it helps you really get in the mood of you're kind of just, you know, you're kind of laid back, getting entranced in the movie, and then things really start to build. So you're like her in the movie.
Yeah, and the her we're talking about, the main character Evie, and it's a very sparse cast and very sparse location budget. I think that from a filmmaking standpoint, it is actually very impressive. But let's shout out Nina Kiri, who is Evie, the lead, who is really, yes, we see her mom, we hear the co-host, we hear the doctor on the phone, which is one of the things I'll mention. But it's really her in the movie. And I think she does a great job. Whatever you think of the movie, there's no shortcomings because of the performance she's given with the material that was presented to her, which I think is a nice way to say that.
And it's encouraging for indie filmmakers, you know, that you can make something with a very small cast, really like no name people, and get a wide release.
Thank you to the great Rumpled Trenchcoat, a Columbo podcast, who does have a good point. He's already thinking about sort of the aftermarket. Do you think this might be a better experience to view at home in the dark with headphones on? I absolutely think that would be a great way to watch this. I'm glad I saw it in a theater with like the really sound, but if you have all of these sounds in your ears, you seem to agree, Dan, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it would be a great idea too for theaters to start doing that for like movies like that are audio guided. Like, give the audience headphones just to get immersed that much more. I think that for a movie like this, and we were talking about found audio. Are you guys familiar with? I think it was called Session 8 or Session 9.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that? Have you guys seen
Yeah.
that? Okay, because I know what that is, but I didn't see it. So, but I feel like it must be relevant.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that since I haven't seen it, Dan, if you want to talk about it, and then Neal and Cayley can jump in.
So I haven't seen it in a while to give you the exact premise, but
Mhm.
it's they're redoing a old psychiatric hospital, and one of the workers comes across these tapes, and it's like session 1 through session 9 or session 8, whatever they ended it, and it's this schizophrenic patient. So tape by tape, you're hearing this creepiness of the different personalities of this patient, and you're wanting to know what's on that last tape. But while all this is going on, there's barely any lighting in this hospital that they're working in. So, you're hearing noises, the lights are going out. There's that creepiness. You're feeling that anxiety. So it was similar to Undertone.
No, it definitely seems similar. Cayley, would you say that that film did it better, about the same?
I actually hadn't thought about that movie in a really long time. I remember really enjoying it when I watched it at first. And I think perhaps it was a little bit creepier to me than Undertone was, in all honesty. But again, it's been so long since I've seen it. Maybe if I watched them back to back, I would feel differently about that.
Sounds like a double feature movie night during Hackamania.
That would probably be a really good double feature.
What about you, Neal, in the way of comparison?
Yeah, same way. Actually, I haven't seen it in a long, long time. So it would be something I'd have to compare and watch. But I did want to mention something that Cayley brought up about like not all the pieces are it doesn't like spell the movie out what everything means, or maybe everything's in her head or whatever. I like that. I like a movie that does that. It makes you think at the end. And even it's a very modern movie about podcasts and things, but also that's kind of like a 70s film where the movie doesn't spell it out for you at the end.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate that. And by the way, Daniel, what are you trying to do to all of our houses? You're invoking the name Abazu. We know what happens when you do that. I have a lot of
stairs. I think I'm the one who's in the most danger right now. No?
Probably. Well, yeah, that's.
I'm not pregnant. That makes it sound like I'm pregnant. I'm definitely not pregnant.
That you know of.
Right.
Let's not start rumors.
I know. Pest is going to clip this and be like, all right, she's worried about Abazu. And now I said it. So that's on me. Sorry, go ahead.
That was something I was thinking too, is the fact that you only really see her and the dying mother, and you just hear the caretaker, you hear the podcasters, you hear all these different voices and stuff. So you really don't know, like there is that possibility that it's just her all in her head going nuts from taking care of her sick, dying mother.
Yeah. In the description for the episode and for the title, I asked if it's, underwhelming or underappreciated. And Robin says it's underappreciated. This movie scared the shit out of me. I at no time was I scared. Was I scared? And I don't even think I was startled. I don't think there were jump scares. It was more, I'm like, what is that? It's a lot of like that, where if I was watching it at home, I'm like, you go back that up 15 seconds because what did I just hear? And I do like how consistently. So Evie's co-host is Justin, who for some reason lives in London. I don't know why we got that. We didn't need that. Just he's somewhere else. When he would be like, oh, let's play it back. You don't hear that. She would never hear it. I'm like, okay, that's actually kind of I thought that was an interesting device, until she does start hearing it, so one other thing from the chat before we move on is that Daniel also said Baba Black Sheep was a banger. I mean, all right. I don't know if I have the Ring Around the Rosie, but I've at least got that one. So
I want to address a
Yeah.
little bit actually before we move on. So you just asked why the co-host of this podcast, Justin, was in London, and I
Yeah.
think that it was to introduce us to those nursery rhymes. Of course, the first nursery rhyme that we hear in the film is "Ba Ba Black Sheep," but the first nursery rhyme that we hear on the podcast, if I remember correctly, is London Bridge. And I want to talk a little bit about this usage of these nursery rhymes in order to kind of instill a fear in us, because, of course, that invokes our childhood, which often gives us the uneasy, oh my God, I don't want to put my feet out of the bed in the morning. If I have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I can't do it because it's dark and spooky out there. But what this movie reminded me so much of, and perhaps one of the things that took me out of the tension a little bit, is that I think that this movie was very heavily inspired by this TikTok genre of like dark origin of nursery rhymes. Have you guys seen these
I'm not familiar
TikToks
with this. So.
ever? Okay,
Mm.
so there was this one girl who very famously did these like little videos where she was like, do you know the Muffin Man? And she's like singing it to herself. I think her name was Mackenzie Barman, if I remember correctly. She has like millions and millions and millions of views. And she would do like this thing where she would like sing the song, and then she would like another person would like explain to her what the actual origin of the Muffin Man was. And then she would get very upset and she would like start crying and having like an emotional breakdown. And so she would do this with all of these nursery rhymes where all of them had these hidden evil meanings. And for me, this movie seemed to have some inspiration from that. And it's such a goofy genre that it just didn't function well for me, even though I think it could be quite terrifying for others.
I never for a second considered that that's a real genre, but I mean, of course it is. And by the way, if that girl is upset, then the one that Rumple Trenchcoat puts here, she should definitely not hear 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Thank you, Rumple Trenchcoat.
I like the kids' music in it, and I've never listened to any of those podcasts, so I'm not familiar with that. But like old nursery rhymes are very like they're really horrific. Like if you really look at
they're all dark.
Yeah, I mean, they mentioned Rockabye Baby, which is like, yeah, you do fall to your death. Ring Around the Rosie was, like checking to figure out which one of your friends has the plague, which, I guess my kids were kind of raised with a little of that during lockdown times, which I didn't connect those dots to literally right now. It's like, you have to stay away from your friends.
And it adds a timelessness to it because, like these are old songs. So these are like old warnings or, been around for centuries.
Yeah, no, definitely. I gave my thoughts on the performance, and because there is essentially only one actor, I wanted to ask each of you what you thought of Nina Kiri as Evie in this. I'll go with you first, Cayley.
She was outstanding. She was the highlight of the film for me. I thought that she was her character had interesting development, and I think that she did the best that she could with it. So there were some things, and again, we talked a little bit about the fact that this movie leaves us with a lot of cliffhangers. There's a lot of mystery in the film. We get hints that her character Evie has a problem with alcohol. We get hints that, she has a bit of a torrid background, that maybe she was a partier before she started taking care of her comatose mother, that she grew up Catholic. And, we get all of these kind of little nuggets all about her. But what really sells her is her ability. I think it was actually you, Christian, who mentioned like how she was looking around the room. And that is, again, the same terror that when we are nervous in our own houses, that's what we do, right? We start kind of looking to the left and then looking to the right and going, is everything okay? Was that a bump in the night, or was it just my house settling?
Yeah, which I always tell myself it's my house settling, and it usually isn't. By the way, another luminary of film commentary, the great Tony from Hack the Movies, points out that Cayley watches these nursery rhyme videos in between 6-7 memes and AI ring cam animal videos on the TikToks. I think he's hacked your algorithm, Cayley.
Yes.
Dan, what did you think of Nina, the lead actress in this movie, Nina Kiri, who plays Evie?
I thought she carried it really well. She did a great performance, I thought. And and speaking of like the audio in the very beginning, like the first thing you hear outside the mother's breathing as she's dying is you hear the clicking, the ticking of the clock.
Yeah.
and then you hear the tea kettle slowly, simmering to that high pierced, whistling, which kind of goes with her character. I mean, that's what she's going through. She's like slowly going mad until she's about to explode. And she even says at one point in the movie, she's like, I know it sounds terrible, but I wish my mother would just go already.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, that's very clearly on her mind. And I think that we, as Cayley said, we're sort of getting little hints of her. We do find out that, she's got, she's pregnant, but, and, we'd already gotten enough of the backstory where we're like, uh-oh, I'm like, I think I know what she's going to do when she finds out she's pregnant. And she does plan to, she plans to get an abortion. I mean, I don't know why I would dance around that. What were you gonna
I don't
say,
know
Cayley?
that that's what she plans to do. I think that's ambiguous also.
She was going to go to the clinic. What was she going to do?
No. She says, I would like a reference to the women's clinic. That could mean a gynecologist, or that could mean something like Planned Parenthood. This was an extremely, extremely ballsy. As the woman on this panel, I want to talk about this. We have this character, Evie. Who is struggling with a lot of things. She's dealing with her dying mother. She's trying to make a podcast that she clearly cares about. She feels isolated in this very dank and old looking house, very 70s sort of style house. And she finds out that she's pregnant, and we know that she previously had an alcohol problem. And one of the first things that she does is go to the liquor cabinet and drinks while she's pregnant. And I got to say, there's not a lot of movies that will allow that to happen. And at that point, we definitely don't know what decision she's made about that baby. They are making this woman into a bad mother by watching us watch, or by having us watch her do that. And I thought that was really cool. That was actually probably one of my favorite parts of the movie.
I thought it was
extremely ballsy.
That was a very interesting choice. And I did have that thought. I was like, oh, they say you're pregnant. Okay, time to start drinking, and I think that it at least informed me to where I thought she was leaning towards, because she's even talking to her mother when she can't listen, when her mother can't hear. The idea that she doesn't think she should be a mother. She doesn't think she would be good at it. Rumble Trenchcoat has a suggestion. Perhaps she wanted to go to the women's clinic to get prenatal vitamins. Okay. Yeah. So let's keep that in mind.
I think it's ambiguous. I don't think that we get a decision from her on that. I don't think that we do.
I agree with that. But I think a lot of those things you're talking about is because there's a lot of religious undertones in the movie. Sure. And I think that's the setup, like that the demon can get to her. Like she has all these faults, and it. I'm not saying it's like a super religious movie, but it is sort of pro religion.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, her church upbringing, her mother's, continuing to the church, the voicemail she listens to, which is, you haven't been in church for mass for a while, would be great to see you, and
her wanting to name her unborn baby Mary.
The creepiest, I don't know what that is exactly. The saint, the little figurine, literally the creepiest one of those you could ever see.
Yeah, with all little babies on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she says at one point, I killed my mother because she wanted me to pray with her, and I just didn't want to, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. No, I know. I thought that it was a little jarring for a second. I'm like, wait, did we miss something? But I think it was just more she feels like she did it.
Yeah.
We're talking a lot.
But real quick, I thought she was great in the movie. She people talk about the sound, but she also carries the movie. And I thought she's a great story arc from being like the total skeptic to really kind of going mad with when she starts to believe all this.
Right. And there's no way this movie works on any level if the lead actress playing Evie is
basically
not
the only person you really see.
Yeah, exactly, because you're spending all that time with them, and
because you are her while you're watching it,
Yeah,
you're going with her journey.
Right. Yeah. No, I thought that, again, I think we're at least all in agreement on that. So I guess the question kind of becomes, is it worth checking this out for all of us? I'll go, I'll ask you, Neal, because you're the one who's seen it twice. are you much more likely to say, no, you should check it out and make up your own mind after the second viewing, whereas maybe after the first one was like, man, just
No, I would say watch it, but just pay attention the first time, and don't be an asshole like me and go on your phone and talk to people on X while you're watching it. But you should do that with everything, honestly. It's not going to be a movie for everybody. So
sure.
If the idea of a slow burn movie doesn't really sound good to you, maybe don't check it out. But I think everything's worth checking out, once and see what you think about it. But I would recommend it. I would recommend it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because in the chat, William Halverson says, under recommendation, I tried watching the film One Too Many. Didn't make it 5 minutes. So
I've never watched any of it.
You mean National Lampoon's One Too Many? Or
I believe that
yeah.
is the movie, yeah.
So, Cayley, you've seen that movie, haven't you?
I have. I've reviewed that movie with the wonderful Carl from Who Are These Podcasts.
I do have an idea,
also,
though, real quick. I'm sorry, Cayley.
Yeah, no, go for
some
it.
stuff's come out recently about the making of One Too Many.
Sure.
I think to make a movie about the making of One Too Many would be amazing.
You want to troll to this. You wanted the best worst movie this movie.
No, not an actual documentary, like a narrative version.
Like,
of the
I think
like
that
the narrative one they did in The Room.
Yeah, the James Franco movie about
Yes,
Tommy
exactly.
Wiseau. Yes.
Yes,
I can't think of the name of that.
The Disaster Artist.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we need a disaster artist about One Too Many.
Exactly.
Which, Dan, that's part of a very niche interest. Some would say that the three of us might have.
I think we could crowdfund it. I think people
Yeah.
would be willing to donate.
It's
ha ha ha. That's a very funny story.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Which you were one of the people who went to the screening of The Room. Where no, Cayley, did you go with everybody to go see
I did.
Greg was there, Mark
the other day. Yeah, Greg was there. I have seen many screenings of The Room, both with Greg and with Tommy in the past. So
were they
I didn't feel
plastic spoons?
the need. I assume so.
The first time I went, it was early enough in the run. Again, we'll get back to Undertone, but if The Room comes up, we can't ignore it. And I think a lot of people know that Tommy paid for this billboard for years on Sunset Boulevard, and you would just sit there at a red light and be like, "Yeah, what is that?" And he would never actually do anything about it. My friend Jason was visiting from New York. He's like, "We have to go see this movie while I'm in town." I'm like, "What? That?" And I went, and Tommy was there. Greg was there. They were playing football, of course. It was on 3 screens, and they went and talked before each of them. And that was my introduction to that. But I can't say, apart from I think they did a Riff Tracks version of it, I've never been compelled to watch it again. So I'm all in for this making of One Too Many. But I appreciate that. But what I wanted to make sure, just Dan, all you need to know, it's a movie that stars Stuttering John from the Howard Stern Show. So you can only imagine the level of quality that we might be dealing with.
And it was written by him, I believe.
Yes.
Well, allegedly.
And he does a lot of the original music. That's not forget about that.
Yeah. And some very interesting set decorations were left behind, according to something that I heard in an interview. Before I ask Dan, Cayley, did you want to, I felt like you were about to say something, but perhaps even you have forgotten what it was. Yep.
I don't know.
It's a great answer. So Dan, you saw it and you were talking it up, and I don't blame anything that you said. I think that everything you said was true for the way that you saw it. Is this one that you feel like, people should definitely check it out for themselves, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. But make sure you're in the right atmosphere. Shut your phones off. Make sure you got headphones
Neal.
Be in the dark.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I liked about this movie too, was some of the wide shots they would do. Half the room is dark and the other half is light. So like you'd see her in the light doing her podcast, but then on this side of the room, you just see that opening to the staircase and it's just dark, and they start doing this slow zoom. So it's almost like that anxiety starts to build. Is something going to happen? Are we about to get a jump scare? But then that jump scare never comes. So now you just have all these shots of that anxiety building up with no real payoff. But then you have these really.
It's more about the vibe of the movie, I think, than than jump scares.
Well,
Yeah. Well, you have these
Go ahead.
I
dark
got made
shots
fun of
while
for
you're feeling
talking.
the anxiety, though, and
Okay.
it lasts just a beat too long, and then you'll get the light shot of the next day, and it's almost like a relief from that tension.
What were you gonna say, Cayley?
I was gonna say I got made fun of for knowing about nursery rhyme TikTok baloney, and Neal's not getting made fun of for calling it a vibe. Come on, guys. This is just because I'm a woman, isn't
Well,
it?
if there's somebody who hates vibes, it's my buddy Dave Sarah. Good to see you, Dave. But here's the thing: it is a vibe. But for what Dan's talking about, those long panning shots while we're hearing what Evie's listening to, but we're not actually focused on her. There were a couple of times where I'm like, is there somebody standing there? And I'm like, no, I don't think there is. And I don't think they had someone standing there, but it was like lit in such a way where you could see a little bit. Nothing was moving. It was almost like the Scream animatron in Scream 7. I'm like, is there something there? I don't know. I can't quite tell. So I did think that for, again, a film on a micro budget, visually, we're all talking about the sound design being good, but I thought it was actually very interesting for what is basically a girl sitting at her laptop for probably half the movie. That's probably about right. So yeah, I think it's visually more interesting than maybe it has any business being. What do you think about that vibe, Cayley?
I think that I would like to finally share with you my least favorite thing about this movie that ruined all of the vibiness of the film. First, let me go back to that concept of like us seeing the darkness and not really knowing if something is standing there. A lot of the time when those shots were happening, what I was actually seeing in those images was the statue, like the white statue, the silhouette that almost looks ghost-like. It almost looks like somebody with a sheet over their head, in the non-KKK way, of course. At least presumably. I don't know. Maybe that we're more religious undertones. I don't know. All right. I'm getting ahead of myself.
I was going to say, who are your friends that you need to say not in the KKK way? And then I'm like, oh, wait, I know a lot of your friends. So yeah, it's probably a good idea that you make that differentiation. Yeah.
So, what I really disliked about this movie and what kept taking me out of it, and I am curious what you guys all think about this. The concept, of course, is that Evie is hosting this horror podcast, and as her and her co-host Justin are going through each one of these audio files, they get 10 separate audio files, and they listen to a couple of them. They listen to like 3 of the audio files. They are pre-recording a podcast. They listen to 3 or 4 of these files, and she becomes so terrified and so distraught that she needs to pause. Now, they've recorded, we hear that portion in real time. That portion of the movie is done in real time. So we know that portion of the movie or that portion of the podcast lasted about 10 minutes. So they pre-recorded 10 minutes of a podcast. She pauses them. Then the next day, a couple of days later,
it's a couple days. We'll finish recording tomorrow. Oh no, I can't do it, says Justin. Okay.
A couple days later.
Yeah.
They go back and they do a couple more. And they do another 10 minutes. And again, she gets so distraught that she has to pause them. And this, to me, there is no podcasting situation ever where any of that makes any sense to me. It kept taking me so out of it, which was crazy because the audio was so perfect. Listening to her again, the sound of her putting her headphones on, and you can hear the change in the audio, and you can hear it rustle against her hair, and everything was so realistic. This concept of recording a podcast in this way was so unrealistic to me. A podcaster would not do that, and it drove me so crazy that the vibe was ruined. It was ruined.
The podcasting production is actually the thing that I like least about this movie. For what you're saying, I will give the counter argument that they kept recording, and then that whole episode was going to be up until I think file 9. Okay, well then we'll just make it a 2-parter. But also, I didn't see her editing it. Justin seems to have a day job in London, so I'm not quite sure. But the thing that I knew was going to bother me when they mention it, and if anybody wants to call us during our podcast recording, so they're not streaming on YouTube like we are right now. They're not streaming on Discord. I mean, they didn't say it. So if you just want to call and talk to us, this is when we'll answer the phone. I thought that was a very flimsy plot device, and I think that maybe I wasn't as tightly engrossed to it at that point because some of those calls were pretty terrible. Actually, there's really the good one, the one that's in the trailer, and like you shouldn't have called out to her. I'm like, all right, I like that call, but don't give us 3 calls before that. I don't know.
Abby.
Abby was yeah. Well, go ahead, talk about that one. Yeah,
Pretty much like you hear the sound of her killing her own baby.
Yeah,
which I thought was pretty creepy.
There was very creepy, but that we have on the show I do, Who Are These Broadcasters, we have a recurring bit, which is I do play a video that I actually thought of as I was in the theater watching this, and I was thinking like, oh, are they going to call out the fact? And I think Evie does. But what we would do on the show that I do, we would ask the important question.
Extraterrestrials, strange phenomena, missing persons, lost continents, myths, and monsters.
We examine these mysteries to determine, are they bullshit or not?
Which, of course, comes from the great Amazon Women on the Moon. Which
one of my favorite movies.
It's one of my absolute favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in any case, I agree with what Dan was saying. That was an interesting call, but Evie had the right reaction. What did you think about the calls, Neal? That calls were not coming from inside the house, but they were coming.
Yeah. I didn't think too much of it at the time because I'm not really, even though I do podcasts, I'm not really interested in a movie about like technically the podcast part. But it, I would think calls are more likely like a live thing as opposed to like call me it. But because I think especially in maybe like way back like years ago, like when we because I started podcast 2005, maybe we would have done that or something. But I think today with like so many live shows, people aren't going to really do that call at a certain time and then not hear the immediate like reaction to your phone call.
Right. Yeah. So I
know it like you're not really interacting. I don't know. It seems kind of weird.
Yeah. But Cayley, you were more about.
By the way, Loch Ness Monster was Jack the Ripper.
Yes. And Ed Begley Jr. was the Invisible Man.
Yeah, I asked him about that when I had him on.
Did you?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a shirt dial a phone? So, Cayley, you're talking about the production of the podcast. I'm talking about the phone call nature of it. Dan, as somebody who just occasionally pops on a podcast, but you're not an actual podcaster, did you give any thoughts to this? Or do I just spend too much of my life sitting at this desk with this laptop and these headphones editing waveform just like Evie does?
So, what are you asking me now?
Did you give any thought to any of the podcast stuff, or did we care about it because we are?
I think probably you guys more because I'm not really too familiar with podcasts outside of you pretty much.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Because the Bladtcast is the only podcast worth listening to, except for Once Over with Cayley.
But I will. Can we just talk about the doctor for a second? And this kind of brings me back to the fact that I think this might have just been in her head because it's like, what doctor calls at 3 a.m. to leave a message on somebody's phone?
When I referenced that earlier. Oh, okay. Dr. Steve.
Also,
Dr. Steve would call at 3 a.m. Evie, there's too much fluid. Go ahead.
But he also says that he's calling her to leave her a voicemail to tell her that she's pregnant. That has got to be like 15 HIPAA violations. No, I would think that's not something you're supposed to say on a fucking voice. Listen, if Dr. Steve called me at 3:00 in the morning and was like, Lucy, you're pregnant, I can't do it, Dr. Steve. If he said that and then I woke up the next morning and I listened to that voicemail, I would be like, fuck you, Dr. Steve. No, that's not.
I think you want to take that back because you don't want people clipping you saying "fuck you, Dr. Steve." It might have gotten somebody we know into trouble saying something negative about Dr. Steve, but no, you and Dr. Steve. I mean, you were part of what was supposed to be his last ever show last year at Hackamania. So I know how you feel about Dr. Steve. But
Dr.
yes,
Steve is the most amazing human on the face of the planet. I love him.
Thank you. We all do. except for Dan because he doesn't know. And you know what, Neal, I don't want to speak for you. Maybe you don't love Dr. Steve, but the point is
I don't dislike him. I don't really know him, so I know who he is.
Yeah. And I like this from Phil. I love when Cayley does movie reviews because I generally have never heard of the movie, yet they end up pretty cool to watch. But would you tell, wait, so that's not Rumple Trenchcoat. Would you tell Phil Walsh, 8975, who judging from that is older than me, so thank you. Would you tell Phil Walsh, oh yeah, go check this out, Phil Walsh, or should he listen to this and think, I don't know?
You know, this is actually a challenging one for me. Again, I do think that Undertone is very divisive. I think some people are going to love it and some people are going to hate it. I think if you generally like the paranormal sorts of genres, and again, Dan, of course, has made, and a lot of people have made the comparison to Blair Witch. If you like that kind of feeling and that kind of tension, then this might be for you. I like that kind of tension, and this wasn't entirely for me. That being said, I think it is a really good experience in going to see it either in a theater that has a really good sound system or waiting until it's streaming, or you can watch it at home with headphones in a dark room, completely immersed in it. I think it's a really cool experience.
And it would help if in the other room you're waiting for your ailing mother to have her death rattle, which was actually one of my favorite moments where it's like, she's like, oh, the death rattle. Yeah, we try to not call it that. So yeah, and if Rumple Trenchcoat, who hosts a Columbo podcast, knows better medical etiquette than the doctor in this movie, yes, you're supposed to say, please call us back to discuss your lab work at 3 a.m. But yes, Rumple Trenchcoat is absolutely right. So Neal, you've seen it twice. Dan, do you feel like you want another viewing either at home, in a theater under similar conditions? Or do you feel like you've kind of gotten what you could out of this movie?
I think I could watch it again streaming, or when it comes on Blu-ray or 4K down the road. I think this is one of those movies, kind of like Blair Witch, or what's the I See Dead People movie?
Sixth Sense.
Right, where it's you're only going to get that effect from the movie that one time, that that first shock from it. So, but yeah, it can be revisited again, but not for a while.
Yeah, and I agree. Sort of. I did want to talk about Blair Witch. You have the shirt on. That is one of those rare times where it was really the first time where they perfectly did this sort of groundswell underground marketing. You didn't know pretty much anything about it, until the stars showed up at the MTV Awards. And then I think we all kind of figured it out. I mean, I think we should have known by then, but just in case you didn't know, like, oh, they were hanging out at the MTV Awards. But that was, I think, one of those movies where you were just like, you had an expectation for it going in, and it so far surpassed it. I still get motion sickness thinking about some of the jumpy moves of the camera. So I can see the kind of the comparison, but I would say that is a much better film. But I don't know who, I guess a younger generation can discover Blair Witch, but I think
it's a hard movie to watch if you weren't around when it first came out.
Yeah,
right.
Because the internet was just big enough that there was people were talking about it, but it wasn't big enough where it was completely spoiled that it wasn't real. And also I think since then there's been so many found footage movies that even if you never saw Blair Witch, you've seen found footage movies. So you'd be like, oh yeah, this is like all these other movies I've seen.
I remember the website for the Blair Witch Project at the time when the internet really wasn't that big. You would go on the website and you would hear those knocking of the trees, those little creepy noises the whole time you're on the site, which added just to that much more creepiness, especially if you're in a dark room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that they, look, with the trailer, I think they did a good job with leaning on some of the audio stuff. But yeah, you're never going to try to recreate a moment like that. And the great Trucker Andy asking an important question. How much of this movie is about the brown note? I'm going to say not enough, because 0.00% of the movie is about the brown note. So I know Trucker Andy has already tapped out, but everybody should check out the All Apologies podcast for more of him.
And Trucker Andy actually got to tell both Luigi Greenberg and I all about the brown note on our show, The Edge Files, which you can also find on his All Apologies podcast on YouTube.
Did
So,
you not know
yeah.
about the brown note until?
There was knowledge, but we had a fun episode about it.
Yeah, and I don't even want to read this. This is so corny. I make a lot of undertones after Chili Night, but thank you, Andy. I'm looking forward to seeing Andy in Las Vegas as well. So I'm very glad I saw this movie. I think it was just far enough off my radar, Dan, that if you hadn't been like, oh, I saw this and I really liked it, I might have just kind of let it skate by. And it's still in theaters. It's been out for 3 weeks. I don't know, almost a month, I think, at this point. So it seems to be generally positive feedback. What are you hearing, Neal? Maybe you have your ear to the ground. That is it pretty much mixed though? People, is it?
Yeah, because I'm friends with a lot of people from like the festival world, and even them, like some of them loved it and some hated it. So it's not even, because I would think like a wider audience would be more divisive, but even like amongst like film snobs, it's divisive.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's. I think that it's. I don't know. People could argue either side of it, and I'd be like, everything they said is true, and that's sort of basically what we're doing here. And I did appreciate.
But I did want to mention, I saw that the director, he's been hired to do Paranormal Activity 8 because of the success of this. Yeah,
I had not seen that. Oh my gosh! And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't realize that we were up to 7 with Paranormal Activity. I might have fallen off on that. Should I? Let me go.
I'm not.
Let me go to Dan. Should I binge all 7 Paranormal Activities before Part 8 comes out? He's just shaking his head no, which is not leaning. Yeah, but
my name's in the credits of the first movie because of MySpace. Yeah, they had some kind of promotion on MySpace when you just went in, and if you put your name in,
they would put them in your top 8
credits. So my name is literally in the credits of Paranormal Activity 1 for no reason.
And you've shown me the scene where you were an extra in Chasing Amy, but it was at a hockey game, so only you know where you were. But
the ice rink in Brick, which closed down a few years ago.
Well, that's because Kevin Smith hasn't done the walking tour of New Jersey locations, which he probably should have. But so I guess. And has anybody ever seen Nina Curie in anything else? Because I had not. And I feel like, I don't know, the way that we're all kind of looking at this, we should probably expect to see her. I had seen that she was on The Handmaid's Tale, so I'm just going to say that's why I didn't know who she was. But my wife watches that.
I watch it, yeah, but
it seems a little too serious for me, The Handmaid's Tale. Nobody's having fun on that show.
Oh, it's definitely not a feel-good.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like you're talking about a great opportunity for the director. I think this will only mean good things for her. But the question becomes, does the voice of Justin as an actor named Adam DeMarco, where does he get out of this? Does he start doing an actual horror podcast or, a true crime podcast, something like that? I don't have these answers. I'm just putting it out there. So everybody can let us know. So I think I don't know, I'm glad that we all saw it. I'm glad that we have sort of semi-different opinions on it, but I don't think any of us feel like this was an absolute slam dunk and we're telling people to run out and see it. What I did mention to Cayley was that before you had seen it, with about 10 minutes of actual story time left, there ended up being 3 other people in my theater. One of them left and never came back. And so then I started wondering, were they getting scared or had they just had enough of this bullshit? Which one would you have been, Cayley? Would you just been like, I don't care how it ends?
It's the end of this film. The last thing that we hear is in very much surround sound, babies crying. And again, the end is quite ambiguous. And I thought that was wonderfully done. However, that being said, I wish I had left maybe 5 minutes before the movie was done. I would have liked more ambiguity. So we got to hear a little bit too much. I won't spoil more of what happens exactly at the end, and exactly what we get to see in here. But I will say that there came a point where I was like, and cut. And then it kept going. And I was like, dang it. So I almost wish that I was that person.
Yeah, like whenever you see, behind the scenes footage, you'll see sometimes like somebody will be like, so you should have just been there with the scissors. Like, no, come on. And what do you feel? And again, I feel like we can easily talk about this movie without really spoiling what we see in here at the end. But what would you say about the ending to this, Neal? Do you feel like it Cayley's saying it kind of undid some of the goodwill she'd had over the previous.
No, not for me. I thought it was really strong as it built up to the end, and I was really into the end of the movie, even the first time I saw it when I was on my phone. So, but then paying attention throughout the whole movie the second time, I was into the end. I thought it was a strong ending.
What about you, Dan? You feel that there was a strong ending for this movie?
Yeah, and I'm a little bit more opposite. Like, I would have actually liked to see more. Like, where it ended, I would have liked more movie after that. But like the teapot boiling, that's where I feel like her madness just came to the very end and exploded, and she just loses it. And that's why you see all those little urban legends, everything coming down on her at once.
Yeah, I think that it was also from, filmmaking, sound design standpoint, the boiling over teapot went a long way. It reminded me of, movie people don't talk that much about anymore is Jacob's Ladder. And there's sequences where it's so crazy what's happening. There's a phone off the hook. There's that, like the old noise that you used to get, that dun, 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 when the phone was off the hook for too long. And there's not a phone in the scene, but even as a kid, I'm like, oh, wow, that's really crazy. It just adds to the tension. So I guess phones don't do that anymore. And she only seems to have a cell phone. But I don't know, maybe I'm the only one remembering that, but it was always very clearly that was the sound in that movie. And I think that this movie does do a good job with some of the sound that's featured. We did highlight the fact that visually there was a lot more. But before we let everybody promote what they've got going on, let's count down the hits again.
Okay, can we just talk about that doll for a second?
The really creepy doll. Actually, we should talk about that.
The YouTube videos of that. It was a real doll, and she really sounds like that. Like she would whisper, like, "I like to tell secrets." It's just so creepy.
So the real doll sounds like this.
Yeah, identical.
I assumed that was made up.
No.
And one of the things we were talking about, sort of viral videos and stuff. It's almost like a throwaway where it was like, oh, remember the last time we were on, we talked about that video that everybody watched as basically taking the plot of Smile, I think, or loosely. And they're like, oh, everybody watch this video and kill people. And then she looks at it and he's like, you don't have it on, do you? And then we see it again, like towards the end of the film. That felt try hard to me, like trying too hard. And until you said that, Dan, I actually forgot how much that annoyed me. And Cayley, you're loudly nodding in agreement with me. So
Yes,
if you agree with me, you must be smart. So what were you going to say?
I could not agree more. I thought that was really doofy looking. Again, it definitely had the appearance of the Smile, like the girl that is in that. You can see it in some of the photographs, like in the promotional photographs from this. It looked doofy and silly. And I understand that they are doing a podcast. And so if that was from a previous episode, perhaps that's why we're allowed to look at it as being a little doofy and silly. But it was too much for me. I could not get into that. No.
By the way, talking about viral marketing, let's shout out the first Smile, where they would buy expensive seats for sporting events, notably baseball games, and sit actors with the smile on their face and the name of the movie behind home plate. But then for the second one, they started superimposing like a graphic over the person. So it didn't work, but it worked once. So I love that part of the story. Go ahead, Cayley.
I also want to just say, Dan, I actually didn't know that was a real doll. That's very interesting. It draws yet another comparison to Skinamarink for me, which of course is that Skinamarink has the little toy phone that
phone,
so many people had when they were kids. So that's it really, to me, these two movies feel very similar, even though they're different in a lot of ways. We of course talked about in Undertone the idea of having the darkness and these kind of boring shots where you expect something to happen and then nothing happens at all.
Right.
You know, you're looking at a staircase and you're like, wow, I've been looking at the staircase for 15 seconds. What the hell do I care? Same thing in Skinamarink. I'm looking at the corner of a room for 30 seconds, and yet somehow it gives you like the, oh my God, I'm going to die feeling, which is really cool.
The one pun, who I will also be seeing in Las Vegas, he said, I heard you could program real dolls. That's not the kind of real doll we're talking about. This is an actual super. I did not. Yeah, the fact that that's real. I don't know. That seems like a series of videos that, according to Tony from Hack the Movies, that's like the new thing in your algorithm now. You're going to be watching all the videos of that. I'm horrified of that doll, Neal. I'd be afraid to watch videos about it.
Yeah. And I think Cayley and I really disagree on Skinamarink, because that's one that does not work for me at all.
We do.
It was probably one of my least favorite experiences ever in a theater was watching Skinamarink.
Well, then you probably never saw Loose Cannons with Gene Hackman and Dan Aykroyd.
You definitely have not seen The Bride yet.
Oh, you haven't seen The Bride yet?
I have seen The Bride.
I'm just saying that's the worst ever movie of all time. Listen, let me just talk about how much The Bride sucks more. I hate the fucking Bride.
Dan, did you see The Bride?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it right now.
Well, I think this is the point.
Well, let me just say one more thing before I forget. I want to talk about, you just mentioned, Cayley, about the staircase. There was another shot, though, that I really like what they did, is when she's listening to one of the audio tapes, you hear the guy running down the stairs, and it's this loud echoing of his footsteps running down the stairs. But in real life, they're focusing on Evie's staircase at the top and going down the staircase as you're hearing the audio from the audio files that she's listening to. That gave me chills. I thought that was done really nice.
Now that you mention it, that was actually a nice comparison. And by the way, if Dan Varney is going to give Cayley $10 to say, I love you, Cayley. Thank you, Dan Varney. That is very kind of you.
Dan Varney. Varney Army for life.
And Jackson said, let's watch French Connection. Best movie ever. It's a great movie. I mean, I don't quite know the angle, but
the poster gives away the ending of the movie, though.
I like The Bride a lot. I know a lot of people.
I did too, actually.
So I finally went to see it because someone, so now this is three people I know. Someone that I know through the Geekscape Network loved it and thought it was like one of the best movies he'd seen in years. So I'm like, great, I'm going to go see it. Cayley and I had the exact same reaction to it. I think a lot of people can understand it being divisive, even if you guys enjoy it.
Well, everyone I knew hated it. So I went and I was like, oh, I like it.
Cayley knows what I said after I saw it. I said, I think we owe Joker 2 an apology because as bad as that was. But yeah. And yes, Rob's noticing. Cayley's had that stunned face on.
I don't understand how people whose opinions I respect could possibly ever like anything about that movie. It started and ended with a knock-knock joke, and bad knock-knock jokes. Knock-knock, who's there? Mary Shelley is not a fucking knock-knock joke. I literally am angry right now. I'm like shaking a little bit. I really used to like both of you. Oh my God.
One of the worst movies that I saw in the theater was Don't Worry, Darling. And I hated it so much that I actually, it was called Twitter back then. And I tweeted, anybody who likes this movie is stupid. And then I heard from a few people who liked it. And I was like, I'm not going to lie. I think you're stupid now. So look, I can see that. But yes, and Rumble Trenchcoat is right. Cayley's horrified that someone could like The Bride. Yeah, listen, Cayley and I have stuff to record after this. We're gonna. My
mom walked out of The Bride.
Okay, that
I like her more now.
My mom would have gotten a few minutes. You want to talk about divisive movies?
She's like Cayley. Yeah. She can't believe I liked it.
And did everyone forget how bad Gotti was? The one pun. I think I didn't see it. That's the one with John Travolta as John Gotti, right?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
That
I
should
would
be.
rather watch
It's
that than The
enjoyably
Bride.
bad though.
Yeah.
I would
Yes.
say.
That's the
Yeah,
difference.
I mean, because Plan 9 from Outer Space is bad, but it's one of the most fun movies you could ever watch. And then a final thing from the chat before we start to let everybody go. The one pun, Dan. This
Orgasmo's great.
when are we gonna do Orgasmo? Yeah. I'm not gay or nothing, but you got a sweet ass. So thank you.
I
One Pun.
reviewed Orgasmo once with Porn
What?
Stash Podcast. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And
is
I've
that-
I've done basketball over on my channel also.
We'll make sure people check those out because those are those are two of my favorite Trey Parker Matt Stone.
You got to
movies.
throw in Cannibal the Musical.
I was
Yeah,
just gonna say we
Cannibal
gotta
Musical's
the
amazing.
fact that they were like juniors in college when they made Cannibal the Musical. That's never what I did with my spring break. But someone who is an accomplished filmmaker in his own right is Neal. Why don't you let everybody know what you've got going on?
Oh, so Our Man Funk, the trailer premiered at a festival like a few weeks ago. The movie will come out sometime this year, and the trailer I thought would be live by now, but it'll be live online soon. I'll be the horror curator at Athens Film Festival, which is really exciting. And the first movie that I produced that will be on Shudder May 1st, Solvent. Which
See, that was the thing I knew. I didn't know that other stuff. And so everybody will be able to check it out on Shudder on May 1st.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we have an actual date now, May 1st.
Well, that'll be
Sweet.
great.
What's the title?
Solvent.
And Cayley, Tony from Hack the Movies does have an important question for you. Cayley, where can people learn more about your hatred of The Bride? The first place is the nationally syndicated radio show Is It Worth Watching that she co-hosts with me, because we did talk about it on there. But is there anywhere else where you talked about your hatred for the movie The Bride, Cayley?
There is. Tony from Hack the Movies and I actually talked all about how much I hate The Bride. He also didn't hate it as much as I would have liked him to. Everybody is crazy. You're all
Yeah.
insane. At one point, the bride says, "What's that smell?" And Frank, because that's what we have to call the Frankenstein's monster character, Christian Bale in Batman voice goes, "Pretzels." What the fuck is that movie? And how could anybody? I'm done. All right. I'm sorry. You can check that out on Hack the Movies. Tony joined and I joined each other to talk about it. You can see it on either of our channels.
And let's let everybody know what else is going on your channel. You have something very exciting tonight for people watching live on Sunday, March 29th.
Yeah, that is true. You can see me tonight, the 29th at 8 p.m. Miss Judy and I from AA Legal Focus will be talking all about the Afro Man lawsuit and specifically how it applies to everybody's favorite Lowell suit, where Stuttering John is suing Carl from Who Are These Podcasts and Shuli from the Shuli Network. So we're going to be talking all about that tonight. I'm very, very excited. And you can watch that on either of our channels. You can, of course, find me at Once Over with Cayley, Cayley, and then Miss Judy is AA Legal Focus. And I got a lot of other really exciting stuff coming up this week. There's been Lowell suit developments. I think there's going to be a lot of other really interesting things happening. So make sure you head over to Once Over with Cayley, turn on those notifications. And,
I think they tell people to smash that like button. The Afro Man storyline, the second act for Afro Man, is one of the most amazing things. I don't know how well people know about it, but they basically didn't have a warrant or whatever, so they go into his house, they take his stuff, and then he puts albums after albums out about how like the one guy looked like he wanted to eat the lemon pound cake that was there, but then by name he says that one of the officers is a son of a bitch and that's why he fucked his wife. It's one of the funniest things I've ever heard, and doing a song Because I Got High was already funny enough. So I love what we're getting from Afro Man, and because Dan Varney put his money where his opinions are, we share that The Bride sucks. And yes, indeed, Dr. Scotty Jones, lemon pound cake, if you're going to talk about Afro Man.
I just want to say, Dan Varney, this is why everybody loves you, is because you know that The Bride sucks. Yes.
Dan, you want people to follow anything? You want to recommend any obscure movies? Do you think you want to do a watch along of Meet the Feebles sometime soon? What do you got going on?
That would be awesome to do a watch along of Meet the Feebles. God,
have to be on Rumble.
So here, I don't really have anything. So this gives me a chance to talk about The Bride real quick and why I like it. Okay, so here's the thing: a quick review. My thing is, I like the storyline because it was like Romeo and Juliet mixed with Bonnie and Clyde.
That's
So to put
exactly
those
what.
two characters in that situation, I really like. And the fact that, okay, yeah, it's far-fetched and it's a little crazy to make her schizophrenic, and her schizophrenic other half just happens to be Mary Shelley, who can't fully possess her. So instead of like getting her full personality, she's just like a Tourette's of these higher vocabulary words, which I thought was just fantastic because I've never seen that before. And like whoever that actress was, I'm not sure of her name off the top of my head.
She just won an Oscar
Yeah.
for Hamnet.
I
Jessie
thought she was
Buckley.
amazing, and as the bride. So for me, I just I don't know. I know there's a lot of hate for the movie, but I like
Jessie Buckley is her name, and
Yeah.
Cayley knows that. I think it was like 2 days after I saw it, I see her winning an Oscar for Hamnet, which I hadn't seen. The Bride was the only thing that I'd seen, so I was like, "Well, these things don't make sense to me."
Well, it's such
But
a putting on the Ritz reference from
Yeah,
Young
yeah.
Frankenstein.
That's the most infuriating thing. Also,
it's almost like you knew, Neal.
that.
It's like you knew she was going to
Putting
do
on the
that.
Ritz. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like hell yeah.
And he does the Ritz in the fucking Batman voice also.
I
Oh
know.
my God,
See,
I hate it so much.
And I've just been telling people that I can't say I haven't seen Christian Bale be bad. But again, this is why we talk about movies, because we had different opinions on Undertone, some very strong different opinions on The Bride. Like, I agree with Cayley, but I'm not getting as angry as she is about The Bride.
Dan, I
but-
really appreciate you sharing your opinion, and I think that you described the movie much better than the movie actually is. So I would like to congratulate you on your eloquence for such a piece of crap.
I'll recommend a movie I saw at Boston
Thanks, I
Underground
think.
Film Festival.
Yeah, go ahead, Neal.
The Cramps, a period piece. It's kind of like a 60s John Waters movie about a girl having her period that kind of becomes like the Blob or the Stuff.
Oh, no.
It's a very insane movie, and it was a blast to watch with an audience.
I'm just going to remind everybody on the tail end of that I am not pregnant, despite my earlier misspeaking.
I thought it was going to be the 70s punk band, The Cramps. I thought that's what that was going to be about.
No, I liked that it was the Cramps, a period piece.
Yes.
Quite clever. Yes.
It is actually very funny. Well, I want to thank everybody who checked this show out in the various locations. If you want more of me, you can go to my channel, the Bladtcast, Bladtcast. One of the high-profile shows that we had recently was a roundtable about the 50th anniversary of Kiss Destroyer with Metal Blade Records CEO Brian Slagle and author Martin Popoff, Mark Cicchini from the Three Sides of the Coin podcast, and Rich Kosak, who is the star child, the frontman in what I will say is the best Kiss tribute band out there today. That is all we have for now. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks everybody in the chat. And I'm sorry, Dr. Scotty Jones is going to ask this. Hey, Lucy, want to go halves on a baby? It's a great way to
thought about
ask.
it that way before, yeah.
But sure. In any case, we will see you next time on the Bladtcast. Once over with Cayley and without your head. We'll see everybody soon. Thank you so much.
See yous.